Hello and welcome to Working Dragon Mystic. I'm Drake, and today I want to talk to you about something that is overlooked a lot in metaphysical and magical practice and is next to never talked about. In fact, I think I'm guilty of it, and that is focus in our practice. Now, I know what you're thinking, Drake, we talk about focus all the time. We talk about focusing on our spells. We talk about putting our focus and making sure we're grounded and shielded, and we're not paying attention to outside distractions during rituals or spells or meditations and the like. And I agree, that level of focus, that ideal of focus, we do talk about quite a bit. But there's another discussion about focus that is drastically not being talked about, and that is the one that I want to talk about today. And we're all guilty of it, myself included, okay? Especially those of you who are just starting out in your practice. I guarantee you most of you are probably doing this thing because I know I did it. And it's very tempting to do. What is that? Well, that is literally trying to do all the things at once. You overextend yourself, you overreach, you're trying to learn everything at once. You're trying to go from start to advanced overnight. And I remember doing this. I was so interested in so many topics and developing so many skill sets that I never slowed down to learn the basics, and it was taking me forever. And in fact, that's exactly what my teacher at the time told me. She enjoyed my enthusiasm. She enjoyed my desire to learn and my hunger for knowledge. Those she thought were great things. But she also found and pointed out to me that they were also the big thing getting in my way, because I was literally trying to study and do 5 or more things at one time every day. So I was constantly working on my meditation, my arcane senses. I was working on my spellcraft. I was working on playing your studies. I was working with deities and gods and spirits and evocation and trance work. I was trying to just cram study and time into all this. Now, here's a little thing a lot of people forget, but it's true. And luckily we got new audio because that jet is staying around a while. So hopefully it's blocking it out. But here's something people forget. We all have 24 hours a day. No one has 28, no one has less. We got 24 hours a day. That means we have a finite amount of time per day to put toward living life. And one aspect of magic is we're supposed to live life. We're supposed to get out there and experience it and enjoy it while we experience it if we can. And if magic is for anything, it's to help us to craft a life we can enjoy and be happy with. And that may not mean what some people hoped it means. That's true, but that is the case. So how do we do that? Well, what I was doing by trying to learn everything at once, I was picking up nothing. I was making very, very little progress, if any. Okay. So what my teacher told me to do was focus on learning one thing at a time. She started me with meditation. She said, focus on developing your meditation skills. Okay. Now, she did say I had to master it. She said, focus on developing it. And she had me do 2 weeks of nothing but meditation training. Okay. And that's what I did. I worked solely on developing my meditation practice. What I saw is in this 2-week period, I made more progress than the 4 months prior, just because all I was doing for this 2 weeks, I wasn't doing spell work, I wasn't doing all these other things. I was just sitting down, I was focusing on my meditation skills and developing those skill sets. And by focusing on those skill sets, I was able to develop my meditation practice better. Okay. Then she had me sit down, spend 2 weeks focused solely on my arcane senses. And the same thing happened. I suddenly was making far more progress on my arcane senses than when I had just been trying to spam it over the last few months. And actually, I want to say arcane senses was 4 months at the time. So I made better progress in 2 weeks than 4 months on that. And I started to very easily see what she was talking about. Okay. Now, And that's what I would encourage you to do, is to focus on your training. When we're building skill basics, especially skill basics, take 2 weeks and focus on those basics. Because you're going to need those skill basics. You're going to need your meditation. You're going to need your arcane senses for actual effective spell work. You can work on, like, if you're doing candle magic, you could work on that. Another 2 weeks that she had me focus on was working with energy, filling with energy. Check out our energy video when it comes about learning to feel energy, and techniques that I used during that 2 weeks, where I put all my focus on that. That was my whole focus. I wasn't doing anything else. Because if you develop these basics, these skill set basics, which I am hoping to put a playlist together for literally beginners who's like, what do I want to work on? I'm going to try and do that here on the channel. So wish me luck on that. But when you spend that time and you're not spreading your focus out, you develop far quicker than you would if you tried to train everything at once. Now, with that said, on the basics, this also applies to us more advanced practitioners. Hands down, this is a lesson I have learned the hard way. So, and I think sometimes the way I talk about my research here on the channel may give the illusion that I'm trying to do 12 path workings at one time. If that is the way it comes over with the way I talk about my research, I do apologize, because I don't really give hard set times and, what I do day to day. But when you get into your practices and you've got your basics, you start doing path workings, or you start doing specific training, kind of like our Dragon Magic 101 course. Okay. Dragon Magic can truly be paired with any other practice, whether it be Norse or whatnot. However, any path working, I have truly found that if you truly want to get the absolute most out of a path working, and you truly want to develop the skill set, the knowledge, and you want to truly be open for the wisdom, the understanding, the insight that's going to come to you during the path working, you need to focus on the path working and nothing else. So when I'm doing a path working, whether it be working with dragons, whether it be working with angels, whether it be working with demons, whether it be working with the Norse, whatever it is, during that path working, that is the only thing I'm doing. I am doing that path working. I don't want to get all these different energies mixed up and cloud what insights are going to be given to me, nor do I want to cloud my focus in the skill development that's going on during that path working. This is a very, very important point, and it is something I try to get my students to do. In fact, right now, I have a student that has undertook such a path working, and this is something that is very time related, sorry about that, to the cycle of the year. Now, with that, she's also been studying other things, Dragon Magic included. See, now we got that muted. I shouldn't do that. What have I told her? Well, that's 3 things that she's theoretically working on, ain't it? Dragon Magic, shelf it for the time being. Don't go into Dragon Magic 102 until you're ready for it. The other thing, which I don't know if I'm allowed to mention here, so I won't, but that particular working, that particular goal, which is a long-term goal, put it on pause. Wait until fall in order to get started with that, because you need to focus on this path working. So that's on pause while she does this. I have literally got her focusing on this. Now, she has built her basics up, so she is going to continue to train her basics, and she's going to utilize those basics, and she's going to be able to utilize those basics and spell working and meditations and trance in a path working, which is why you need to develop those first, because you're going to need a full set of tools to truly do a path working. You can't just go in blind. And that's the reason Dragon Magic 101 set up to try and help you build some of those tools. But I do think you'd get more out of it if you did the meditation course first. But yeah, we did set it up to try and build those basic tools before you get into the meat of the path working for those reasons. But also those exercises do serve a purpose for the path working too. It's yeah. But she has everything on pause except this particular path working, in which she will be doing from now to, I want to say, round about midsummer-ish. something like that. So she basically the first half of the year. Okay, great. She's going to be fully focused on that, her time, her efforts, everything, and she will be seeing a lot more development. And I think even her herself is seeing with that pause and everything already at the time of filming this video. And at the time of filming this, we're pretty much at the start of the year-ish. Because I do upload ahead of time. She is already seeing drastic and massive jumps forward in her abilities and her practice and the insights coming in, and she's applying those insights, and those in and of themselves are helping her organize and grow in life in ways that she did not think she could or would. And it's got her really hopeful for, let's say, by the halfway through the year, she's really, really now excited to see where she's going to end up at the end of this path working. Now, she's going into this knowing she may be path working it again next year, and that's okay. It's okay to do path workings multiple times. You learn more from them every time you do them. But that focus is so very important, and it is so overlooked. So if you're one of these practitioners like myself who tries to undertake multiple path workings or multiple areas of study at one time, stop, step back, pick one to focus on and work through it. When I was working through Asenath Mason's path workings, I focused on that path working. That's what I was doing. Now that doesn't mean, for example, if you're doing a path working and the path working does not include a prosperity spell, but you're doing a regular prosperity working once a week or twice a week, that you can't do it. That's not what that means, because you've developed your skill set. You can do a spell casting. A spell casting is a one and off. It's not a thing. It's not really going to distract you because you know what you're doing there. Very easy, very simple. Prosperity, keep it going. That's different than an undertaking of casting a simple spell that you already know and developing an entire skill set, or working through a path working that's going to challenge you and drive you in new ways, or you're seeking insights, because you need to have those energy currents clear and focused for those insights to come. In fact, most magicians find that during the ritual of requesting answers and insights and aid, even in invocation during the conversation, they'll get answers, but after they close the ritual, that energy current carries greater understanding and insights to them days after the ritual itself. It's a continual thing. But if you just come in and you suddenly hijack the current over to another direction, like let's say I'm working with Azazel, and me and Azazel's got this going, I've done my evocation, I've got my answers. If I immediately full stop and shift over to Norse, it is actually far harder, because I'm now more aligning with that Norse Azir Vanir energy, and those energies are going to have priority to information I receive, which means I could completely miss other insights from here. And that's just it. We as humans will focus on something. That's why, you can tune out a crowd usually, or you focus on the person you're talking to. Or for those people like, well, I can't focus in a crowd. Right. You can actually get so much noise, you can't hear the person in front of you, and sitting there talking to them is useless. That's what we're talking about right here. We need to focus. All right. So do me a favor. If you're not doing it already, focus on one thing. If you were having trouble with your arcane senses, stop the other stuff on the sides. Pause. Give yourself 2 to 3 full weeks of daily practice and exercise on your arcane senses, and record it. You will see a lot quicker development. And then pause, take a break, stay where you're at. You'll keep using those, but maybe work on your meditation and trance or speaking with entities. Pick another skill, develop that over 2 or 3 weeks. Work on those and develop them in 2 to 3 weeks. Think of our metaphysical skills very much like a muscle group in the gym. You know how you would train this group this day, this group the next day? Instead of doing day, do it in a week, because you do need a bit more focused practice other than day. So give it a week. I usually say 2 to 3 weeks. I find 2 to 3 weeks is the sweet spot for most people to see good development. with focusing, usually. So start with 2 to 3 weeks and work on your arcane senses, work on your meditation practice, work on trance work on journey work, whatever skill set it is you're wanting to develop, but focus on it and it alone for that 2 to 3 week period. If you need to do some spell work for a little money or some healing, again, that's a different thing. You can do that spell work while you're still putting your focus training on these things. Okay. And you don't want to do these training focuses if you're doing a path working, because path working is a form of training. Grant you're going to get a lot out of a path working because you've already, theoretically speaking, before you do a path working, you've developed some of your basic skill sets, especially some of the more advanced ones. Perhaps the beginner ones like Dragon Magic 101, they're helping you build those basics, but the advanced ones, they're going to go deeper into things that you already should have the basics developed for. So I challenge you right now to go ahead and over the next month or two, put some focus on those things you're wanting to develop and dive in, block out the other stuff, bring yourself to a focus and make that progress. You will be surprised at the results you will see. And again, I'm not tearing anyone down. I'm guilty of it myself. I love to learn. I have done it many times. I forget this and I have to remind myself to focus. In fact, toward the end of 2022, I had a lot of projects on the burner, and it literally took the upcoming move of this year to get me, the move here in 2023, to get me to start closing down projects I was working on so I could focus on what needed to get done. And that's actually what reminded me that focus is so important. That, and I had a lot of people in the Gilded server asking me about things. And when I told them to focus, they were like, this is amazing. Why doesn't anyone talk about this? And I'm like, well, I don't know. It should be. And then it occurred to me, Drake, you dummy, you haven't really talked about it either. So this is me finally going to remedy that. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you give this ideal of focusing instead of overly spreading out and overextending your studies a try, because I do truly believe you will see massive results in your practice and in your path. All right, until next time, I'm Drake. This has been Working Dragon Mystic. Take care. Bye-bye.